Hello everyone and welcome back to another Facebook Friday. Today, once again, being Friday, we're on the doorstep of Labor Day weekend. So our presentation today is going to deal with Labor Day weekend, what it means, and some common workplace injuries. But first, last week, if you watched our video, you know that we actually decided to do something different. We decided to do a little giveaway based on some of our viewers' responses. And so we'll be reaching out to those who won the giveaway, and we'll talk about what we have coming up for this week following this video as well. So stick around and we'll let you know what our giveaway is for next week. Once again, I'm Dr. Alan Van Scoik, and I'm joined with Dr. Botros here at the Glendale office of the Chiropractic Company. Like we said before, today is the day before the Labor Day weekend, and a lot of people don't really necessarily understand what Labor Day is, why it's here. We know that we get to have a day off to reflect on work, but many of us don't know why. Labor Day actually started as a local holiday in Oregon in 1887. They actually were the first state to pass a law to give a day off from work. Nationally, it became a holiday in 1894. And really, the purpose was dedicated to recognize some of the social and economic advancements that the American laborers and workers had made. It was really to show and celebrate the workers have made, great strengths and prosperity and well-being of the country, and to recognize some of the things that our labor have done. And so because of some of the other holidays, some of the workers were saying, hey, why don't we have just a regular workers' man's holiday, a regular day off to celebrate? And that's pretty much the origins of Labor Day. And so now, being in the healthcare industry, we unfortunately see a lot of workplace injuries. So we thought that we would go through the top 3 lists of injuries that are seen in the workplace and some things that we can do to manage those. Number 1. Should we start with number 1 or should we do number 3?
Let's start with number 3. Change it up a little bit.
Number 3. We'll work our way up to number 1.
Yes.
Number 3. Being hit by objects. Now, this seems like a pretty interesting one. In our office, there's really not much movable structures except for the tables that move up and down. So getting hit by an object in our office is probably not something that's going to happen. However, there's a lot of other factories where getting hit by an object is far more common. In fact, early on in my practice, I had a patient come in with a knee injury where he was hit in the side by a large weight that came through and just clipped him. Unfortunately, they checked his knee out and he had a lot of injuries and damage to his knee. And he came in and he said, Doc, my knee is still giving me some trouble, but really today my hip is giving me some problems. And I said, well, let's take a look at that as well. So we looked at his hip and we did some x-rays, and I said, did they ever shoot x-rays of your hip? And he said, no, my knee was really in bad shape. And I said, well, they probably should have taken some x-rays of your hip as well, because unfortunately your hip was broken in the accident as well. So he had been walking around for about 6 months with a broken hip that had not healed and recovered. So luckily, after doing some work with that, we sent him to get the care that he needed, and he was able to successfully recover. So while some of us don't have that access to stuff moving around in their office, sadly, being hit by objects is number 3. Number 2, muscle strains. Now this is one that fits well into our office. Dr. Bortles, tell us a little bit about muscle strains that occur in the workplace.
So there's a preconceived notion, this idea that muscle strains can only come from doing a repetitive motion over and over and over. And that is true, but there's another component that's often missed, which is when you're in a position for a long period of time and then you start to engage those muscles, that that can sometimes actually aggravate and strain those muscles if they're not used to that kind of motion. So yes, if you're constantly bending and lifting and standing and twisting and doing that sort of stuff, like in a more hands-on kind of work environment, that can cause a muscle strain in the back or in the neck or in the shoulders and upper traps. But if you're constantly sitting for your work on a computer and you're just doing the same thing, and then you get up too quickly or you bend over to do something, that can sometimes shock the muscles and cause them to tighten up as well. Now, a lot of times people think that, what we need to do is to stretch it. And I think since we were in elementary school, and hopefully by the time you were in elementary school too, our gym teachers taught us that generally what you want to do is to loosen things up by kind of twisting and doing this ballistic motion where you're constantly pushing and forcing the muscle to stretch out. And we've been doing that for a long time, and now we're seeing that the research shows that is not a good way to stretch. As a matter of fact, if you do that for a long period of time, it can actually damage the ligaments and the muscles, causing them to be weak and unstable. So what you want to do instead, if you are doing repetitive motions, is you want to do a stretch that will help stretch it, and you don't want to push and bounce on it like this, but you want to hold it, keep it under control. It should feel good, and you should breathe through it. Okay?
We want to work within our dynamic ranges, and so we look at dynamic range of motion as a goal for stretching and activity. We talk in my office a lot about inflammation, and when inflammation comes into your system, it creates some very sticky structures. And so if those structures are very stuck due to some of this inflammation, you try to use them, once again, the muscle can become aggravated and strained. So internally, like Dr. Botros said, we want to make sure that we're moving and that we're doing things in a proper range of motion rather than extending out of a range of motion that our bodies simply can't handle. In addition, we want to make sure, because of that if we are going to do larger bulk lifting tasks, we go into them being warm. Like he said, get the muscles moving, get it loosened up, so that when you do want to put on a heavy load onto your system, your body's capable of managing that. Number 3, or I guess now it's number 1.
Number 1, yeah.
The number 1 injury that happens in the workplace actually are slips and falls. Now, here in this office, like I said, we take care of a lot of slip and fall people as well, but not necessarily on the workplace. We have a lot of patients that come in that are concerned about their balance. They're concerned about having issues with mobility and their gait is being off, and so we work very hard in returning their gait to being normal. Balance is incredibly important, not only in the workplace, but also as we age. And we see a lot of patients that are coming in right now specifically that say, I just don't feel very stable. I feel kind of weak. I feel that when I walk around, I'm going to fall a lot. And so there's a lot of things that we can do from a chiropractic standpoint to help stimulate some of those tiny little muscles that have been turned off all of these years to make it so that you feel more comfortable and confident when you're out walking around. That translates into you not slipping, not sliding, not having injuries in an unstable environment. If you can train your body to function really well in an unstable environment, when it's into a normal, traditional, stable environment, it's far less likely to be injured. And we need to do that for our patients. So you'll see wobble discs and chairs here that we can challenge a lot of those tiny little muscles. Patients ask, what's that scanner up in the front for? Well, we want to make sure your feet are stable and you have good shoes and orthotics. Those things are also able to prevent slips and falls. A lot of this stuff in the office is really actually geared towards limiting these top 3, whether or not patients really recognize that. Now, once again, last week we talked about giving away some omega-3 fatty acids. Today, we're going to do something different. Dr. Botros, what are we doing today?
So in hopes that this video can reach more people and be able to hopefully provide value and help them out reaching holistic health and their goals, what we want to do this time is we're going to give away a magnesium glycinate product. Now, before that sounds like a handful, just know that magnesium is a very important mineral that often in the nutrition world is called the miracle mineral. And the reason it's called that is because it helps with the nervous system, it helps with muscle tightness, it helps with digestion, sleep regulation, mood, well-being, and the list goes on and on and on. So today's giveaway for the magnesium glycinate, again, clinical grade stuff, high quality. The feedback on this is phenomenal. And I've actually had patients who are very, very tight. There's so much tension that we try to get things adjusted, and those muscles are so tight that usually after about 2 or 3 weeks of taking the magnesium, things start to loosen up and we can get much more fluid motion in their spine and loosen up those tight muscles in their back and in their neck. So what you gotta do if that is something you're interested in winning, very simply, you gotta share the video, you gotta write a comment, and hopefully you liked it and you'll like the video. And that's it. And then we'll randomly choose a winner next week, and we'll reach out to you if you are the winner.
So for the winner for last week, once again, we'll be reaching out to you to make sure that you get your supplements. Magnesium, once again, is fantastic. It's used in very, very many cellular pathways as far as chemicals are concerned. And once again, most patients unfortunately become very deficient in it. So supplementing is one of the big four that we talk about for patients as far as what they should be taking. And this is, once again, a really good opportunity to make sure that you're getting it in your diet so that those muscle strains are far less common. Once again, I'm Dr. Alan Van Scoik, and I'm joined by Dr. Botros. We are here at the Chiropractic Company in Glendale. You can reach us at 414-332-0859 or visit our website, chiropracticcompany.com, and we'll be happy to get you in. If you have any questions or have had some injuries that you want us to take a look at and help out with, we'll be happy to do so. But until that time, have a great Labor Day, and we'll see you next week.